Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video we'll discuss retirement. It's a topic that comes up on a regular basis with colleagues. Once someone somewhat desperately stated that they still have 30 plus years ahead of them before retirement. And it's also a topic that emerges from time to time with friends, as none of us are no longer exactly at the start of our working careers. At the workplace or with people I don't know, those conversations always make me a little uncomfortable because on the one hand, I know those people are kind of oblivious to their true financial potential. On the other hand, pointing it out does seem somewhat awkward, as it does go against the mainstream traditional thinking. Ever since I discovered FIRE, that is short for financial independence, retire early, I think about retirement in an unconventional way. It was summer 2016 when I discovered the pioneering personal finances blog, Mr. Money Mustache, and I was immediately intrigued. So I devoured the whole blog from the beginning to the last post of the time. That blog was a true eye-opener, and I understood that age of retirement is something you have control over. People are so used to the prevailing way of thinking of retirement in their mid or late 60s or even later that they fail to see that there is an alternative to this default path. Mr. Money Mustache, whose real name is Pete Adderley, himself quit working for a salary in 2006 after having saved and invested heavily with a stock portfolio worth about $600,000 at the time. There are basically three key principles to early retirement or having control over the moment when you're no longer dependent on a job to pay your bills. The first is your savings rate. What percentage of your income you keep. It's not how much you make, but what you keep or do with the money. And what you'll do with the saved amount is obviously invested. Mr. Money Mustache advocates broad index funds. In this respect, the long-term return of the S&P 500 is about 8%, obviously depending on the chosen time frame. The second principle is a financially mindful and frugal lifestyle, which allows you to save more in accordance with the first principle. Don't fall into the lifestyle inflation trap of the middle classes, keeping up with the Joneses. A typical example of this is a car, which can efficiently undermine any chances of getting ahead financially. In addition, don't fall into a victim mentality. In Mr. Money Mustache's words, in almost every tale of financial woe, the real villain is the victim's past self. The third principle is the shockingly simple math behind early retirement. This math is based on the 4% rule, according to which you can annually withdraw 4% of your savings invested in stocks without the capital shrinking, considering that the stock market goes up in the long run, although in the short term, such as in a year, it can also drastically crash. In order to know how much your stock portfolio should be worth to be able to retire, you'll multiply your yearly expenses by 25, which will give you the number from which to withdraw 4%. So let's say that your monthly expenses are 2,000 euros, which would give you a yearly expense rate of 24,000 euros. 25 times 24,000 is 600,000, so there's your retirement number. Withdraw 4% from 600,000 and you'll get the yearly expenses of 24,000. When it comes to inflation, this calculation takes it into account since it assumes a yearly investment return of 5% after taxes and inflation. So let me stress that the decisive factor is the first principle, your savings rate. Starting from zero, if you're able to save and invest 50% of your take-home pay, which many people would be with the appropriate financial choices, you would be financially independent and could retire in 17 years. And if a 50% savings rate sounds too aggressive, a slightly lower rate would still have you working for much less than the conventional 40 plus years before retirement. So when all this kicks in, it is absolutely mind-blowing. Most people go through their lives with no idea that they could be the ones to determine when they'll retire instead of the system. And unfortunately, financial literacy is not taught in schools. As far as I'm concerned, if I put my numbers into this calculator, which I'm not going to do on YouTube, I could already retire, and that has been the situation for a few years. I do lead a frugal lifestyle, and I don't, for example, own a car, using public transportation instead. So what keeps me from retiring are basically three things. First, I basically like my job, although it can be highly stressful and frustrating at times. Second, I do admit that I am a victim of lifestyle inflation myself to a certain extent. I've talked about lifestyle inflation on this channel as a hindrance to building wealth, which I am not immune to myself. That being said, I do carefully consider every discretionary expense and have never spent mindlessly on luxury goods or anything. However, I do like to have the possibility of splurging on travel or, say, luxury goods if I truly deem the item worth it. I know that goes against the FIRE philosophy, but at the end of the day, we're all human and individual, aren't we? And I would take the FIRE philosophy more as a general guideline than as strict rules. The third reason why I'm not yet retiring is that currently I don't know what I would do with my days if I didn't have a regular job. I think you have to have some kind of project in your life, at least at my age, which again I'm not going to reveal on YouTube. That project will make you feel useful and that you're accomplishing something in your life. Although I'm not planning to retire anytime soon, I have said that there's no way I'm working until my official retirement age. In a nutshell, you don't have to rely on the government for your retirement. It's something you have control over. You decide what you do with your money. By making the right choices, you won't have to work until your official government assigned retirement age. By leading a financially mindful lifestyle, which does entail going against the mainstream to some extent, and by getting your savings percent high enough, it is totally possible for anyone to FIRE, that is, reach financial independence and retire early. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.